Hello, 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 everybody. I hope you can hear me. I hope I'm not getting any feedback. I kind of feel kind of feedbacky in here, so let me know if my sounds okay. This has been one of those hectic days where everything was, it's Wednesday's our eat out for breakfast day just so we can get out of the house. Normally we'd probably just stay in the house all the time. And we also ran errands this morning, so I was a little frazzled getting everything ready for this afternoon. So hello Ann and Kim, glad to have you here, and I hope you're having a great day. Hope you're ready for Christmas and caught up on all your shopping and can just enjoy the holidays. We are done and ready. We're going to celebrate this weekend with our son and his family, so we're looking forward to that. So I hope you guys are doing well. I'm excited for this particular design today. So it was such a fun one to create, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it and enjoy how simple it is to create. It really is probably one of the easiest ones that I have created. It's going to be a quick one, a fast one, I think. And let me grab something out of my drawer here that I forgot to set out in case I need. So let's get a few more people in here and we're going to get ready to get going. Okay, my feed is not correct. Let me go back. It's not showing up for me, so let me get back into YouTube and make sure everything is okay there. Ha, there I am. Not really sure what's going on with that one. Okay, we are good. We're good. Okay, are you guys excited for this one? I'm excited for it. Let me put myself up in the corner and talk a little bit about a couple of things that we're going to be doing. I'm going to first show you how to do the background on just a separate board here. But I wanted to talk to you about the tree. I know if you watch my coffee and chat, I talked a little bit about this tree. This tree I got from the dollar store, or the Dollar Tree, and it was $1.28 actually instead of $1.25. But when I went back on Monday to try and get some more, they didn't have any more. They did, however, have these two there at the Dollar Tree. Now this one is a nice size for this project. It does have lights in it, but they're just a little wired light that you can just pull right off. So this is a nice little tree that you could use. And this one, if you're going to enlarge the design at all, this is a nice size tree for it. Now this one has glitter on it, but you could put snow effect on it either with paint or with the snow text. So those two they had at my Dollar Tree. So, but I was at Walmart this morning and thought, well, I'm going to run into the Christmas section and just see if they have any bottle brush trees. And look at that. They had one just identical to the one I bought at the Dollar Tree for $1.28. And this one, $1.28. Exact same brand that they had at my Dollar Tree at Walmart. So they did have a few of these, but I only grabbed one. That's this one right here. The end of it's already coming off, so I'll probably just use this one here to complete my project today. But yeah, here's the one I got at the Dollar Tree. Here's the one I got at Walmart. So if you have some at your Walmart, you can't find them at your Dollar Tree store. If you can't find them there, then check out your Walmart and see if they have one at the Walmart. So get that in back on. So I did want to show you those. Oops. Oh, well, I just hit my light, so it might get dark in here. So there are those options, but you don't have to use a tree and make it 3D like this. I think it looks so cute because the line drawing itself, I put just a tree shape that you could paint on top of your car. So you can paint just a tree on there. Don't feel like you have to go get a bottle brush tree, but yeah, I just think it just really makes the project. So, okay, all right. So I'm going to show you how to do the background first and all the bokeh effect. I've already gotten that far on the one I'm actually going to paint. I was hoping to have a base coat on the car so it wouldn't take so long to complete the project, but I got so behind doing stuff that it didn't get done. So while I'm painting my base coats, which is just color brick painting, that's a good time to pop your questions up here if you have any questions to ask me. So, hi Donna, hi Laurie, and Kim and Jan. Thank you, Kim. I'm excited to teach this for you guys. So I'm going to set mine aside so maybe I can look at it every now and then. Find some place where I can put it where it won't get paint or water all over it, which is kind of going to be impossible here. I've kind of got my whole desk overloaded here with stuff. So one of the things that I like to do when I paint a multicolored background is to use a roller and multi-load it. Now I have done this in a few other projects that I've done on my lives and in videos. So it's not a complicated process at all. It's just loading your roller and going for it. Have no fear. No fear painting. So I've been having my roller soak down in the water here, and the water only come up to about here. I don't want water in the end ever, because that when I go to roll it will just fling out everywhere on my project. So I need my roller damp. I'm going to squeeze out the excess because I don't want it to thin my paint. I just want it to let go of the paint when I load the roller. That is the whole purpose for having a damp roller or a damp sponge, so that whatever product you put in the roller or the sponge comes out. You know that's how it works for a paintbrush. When you have a damp paintbrush, the paint comes right out of that paintbrush. But when you use a dry brush to do dry brushing, the paint stays in the brush a little bit more. So that is the same purpose for making a damp roller or a damp sponge. All right, so our colors that we're going to be using on the background, I wanted to keep it kind of Christmassy colors, so the background is a very muted green. So we want some green and some white, and you can get this packet on my website, and it does list all of the colors that I used in there. If you have another color that you want to paint your little VW, and that's probably a little too close together because we're going to be loading a roller and it kind of takes up a little room. And I think I'll wait till I get these two on, and then I'll come back and add the other two colors that I want to put in the roller. So I'm first going to load the roller with some white on the end here. And I'm going to put more white out because I'm going to need it when I reload probably. So the first color goes on the end here. Then the green is going to go next to the white. So we've got those two colors in there. And then when we add our next two colors, we're going to put them back here on this edge. So when you're painting with this, I like to do like a slip slap technique on here. I don't like to be too precise about anything. I just like to get it in. I do want to keep the lighter color in the middle. So I'm going to try and keep the white more towards the middle and just very gently blend it. Don't be concerned about how it looks. Seriously, this all pushes back to the background and it just, fades away when you put everything on top. I do want to keep it, lighter all the way down to the bottom. I think on my original one I didn't quite keep it super light. So now I'm getting a little bit more pressure. I'm tilting the white side up and giving a little bit more pressure on the green. So I can put a little bit of green out past this white. And now we're going to get some more paint on our roller here. So let's see if I can do this without over blending these colors. Alright, so we're going to grab this orangey color here and put it on the end. Okay. Bring my surface back, and I want to start putting this a little bit more on the outside. And it's okay if it comes in, you know, into the little, in the middle just a little bit. You know, we don't want it in the white area, but in our green area that we've created. So I'm just giving more pressure on this edge right here because I'm laying the paint in right now. Now as I start to want to blend it, I'm going to give more pressure through these two areas and try and keep the white up a little bit. It is really not difficult, and if your white ends up getting in there, don't worry about it. Just gently blend it and work with it and create a really cool background. So now I want to take this darker color here and also put it on this back edge. And we're going to put this on the very outer edge. Just a little bit of this. We'll come back at the end and add this color again at the end. Something on my roller there. So now I'm just going to very gently blend this out. Get a little bit more of that white in the center because I already feel like it's kind of faded down in there. And then just keep playing around with it until you've got it the way that you like it. And it's just a really modeled, no stress background. Seriously, no stress. It's just a way to get multiple colors on your surface very, very quickly. Okay? Alright. I think that's pretty good. So you can just continue to work that and work that. That white's going to fade down in there. It really is however much you want to do to the background before you start going on to the next step. I didn't want too much done to it. I did want to see the green, so if you feel like you've lost some of your green, go ahead and put some of that back in. I'm done with my roller, so I'm going to drop it down in the water here so it can stay wet and my paint won't dry in it. So find a place to put that out of the way. And then the next step on the background is to apply the bokeh. The bokeh effect in the background. Let me make sure this is dry. And y'all know how I like my bokeh effect. One of my favorite effects. One of my favorites. Okay, so we're going to grab a stencil brush, and the two colors we're going to be using are white and this rusty orange color here. Put a little bit of white out. It's got pretty good amount there. And then a little bit of that orange. So this particular stencil is a stencil that I created many years ago, and actually had forgotten about it until I was doing a bokeh effect the other day, and I was searching through my stencils looking for my circle stencil and came across it. Oh yeah, I forgot. That's perfect for creating a bokeh effect because it's already got all the circles in varying sizes, unless you're wanting all of your circles to be the same size, which in a lot of projects I do want that. I want that bokeh effect to all the circles to be the exact same size. But in this one, I didn't want that. So this works out perfect for this particular design. So this is called my random circle stencil. All different sizes. Some of them are not perfect circles, which is perfect for a bokeh effect. So I'm going to load my stencil brush with some white and a little bit of that orangey color there, and I'm going to tap it off onto a dry paper towel. I really want my first layer to be light and subtle because this is the layer that is the most distant. So if you need to, you can tape your stencil down. Let me see if that's got enough orangey color in it. I feel like it could use a little bit more, so I'm going to put, I'll keep this over here so you can see it, a little bit more in there. I still don't want a lot of paint on my brush because I want this to be soft and subtle in the background. If you've got a lot of paint on your brush, then begin by tapping in your circles until some of the paint is released out of your brush, and you can start rubbing a little bit harder. Just a little bit more. It's probably a good idea to tape your stencil down as well so you don't accidentally move it. Not that it matters much with a bokeh effect. And I'm going to come down, I don't know, our car is going to go right in here, but we want all of this to be behind our car. So I just want that light orangey color first. Okay, I think I'll grab a piece of tape and hold. Well, I don't need to hold it because I'm going to be moving the stencil, so forget that. All right, so now I just want white. I'm going to work that in. I still have a little bit of that rust color in my brush. Now I'm just going to move my stencil in some other fashion and begin putting another layer in here. This will be still a light layer, but it'll be a light, more white color than the first color we put on. So just wherever you want to put your stencil, just create a second layer. Let's put a few over here. I didn't go all the way over to the edge over here, but I did put some kind of subtly over there. All right, I might put a few up here in this corner of this color. And then we're going to add one more layer on here of white. I'm still not cleaning my brush. I'm just adding more white to it. So this is going to get us an even lighter layer. A little bit more paint. Okay. Ooh, look at that. That looks so good. Now I want a few white ones to stand more on top, more forward. Okay, so I'm just going to go in here and randomly pick a few whatever size you want them to be, and I'm just going to tap them in individually so I can just create some bright ones in here. Okay, just a few standing on top. I feel like I need one more over here. So that was straight white, and I had a lot more. I didn't remove very much paint from my brush after I loaded it, but I tapped them all in because I knew my brush was loaded well with paint. That had a little bit of a hole there, so that kind of completes the background right there. That is all there is to it. It's very, very, very easy background to create, and see already all the stuff we put in there. It's pushing way, way back there. So I'm going to grab the one I've got prepped for you, which I created in a very, very big hurry today. I wasn't very prepared for my class today. So I've got a few more that are a little bit darker in the background here. So if you like that look, I just use a little bit more of that rust color in the background. But to be honest with you, I really like it a little more subtle like this, where the rust is just barely showing through on there. So now we've got, to this point, I've got my line drawing on, and I'm going to start putting some base coats in. So this is a good opportunity to ask me any questions that you want to ask me, because you're just going to be watching me paint in base coats. So we're going to get some red out here. Whatever color red you choose, it's not going to be wrong, because we're going to create our own dark values with this red color. So when I paint in my base coats, I do like to paint in each area by itself to try and retain those shapes if I can. But if I lose them, it's not a big deal because I can come in and transfer back on any lines, which I will draw my lines back in for you guys so that you can see the lines where I'm going with everything. It'll just make it easier for you visually to see exactly what I'm doing. So I do like to have my paint a little bit thinner, especially if it comes out thick out of the bottle. Y'all know I'm using Deco Art Americana acrylics. But if it comes out a little thick out of the bottle, I definitely want to add water to it. But I make sure my brush is a little bit more, has a little bit more water in it, because I like a little bit, not thin layers, but I like a little bit thinner paint because it goes on more smoothly and there's less chance of ridges. And I also do my second layer the same way. My second layer is really just a heavy wash of paint, which means that in my water there's a little bit more paint than a typical wash would have, but it's still a very thin layer of paint. It's just the second layer, all it's doing is filling in the gaps of what your first layer didn't cover in the background. And normally when I'm painting red, I like to have a gray undertone under my red, because it gives me that true color of red that I'm painting. But with this project, the color that the background was a perfect undercoat for this red, so it worked out well. And I like to use a light gray, light to medium gray under my red, just because it gives me that true color of red. And I'm just working with a 10 flat brush here. I did put a headlight, a funny little headlight here. That's your choice if you want to paint it in or leave it off. I thought it was cute, but I don't think it's typically where a headlight would be on a Volkswagen Bug. And your Volkswagen can be any color you want it to be. It doesn't have to be red, but I wanted to do a different take on the red truck. Everything's red truck. And I'm not into the red trucks. So for me, I thought this would be a cute take on that. Something a little bit different. A little bit more fun. So you see how I'm just painting in each area just by itself. I'm not going to worry too much about those tires because I'm actually going to show you a super easy way to get those in. Now on my original one, I did hand paint my tires in, but I decided for today I'm going to show you, I should be even with that, I'm going to show you a much easier way to get those tires on. So see, just color book painting, just filling in all the shapes. So you can see in places where we can still see a little bit of, you know, how it didn't cover the background 100%, but we've got a good layer of paint. So that's why I don't do a heavy layer on my second coat unless I'm using like white where it just really needs to be covered up. All right, that is my first layer of red on there. Any questions? Okay, let's put our windows in with our dark color. Again, I have that paint I kept a little bit of water in my brush when I rinsed it out. I didn't Didn't wipe it all out on my paper towel there. Just kind of tapped it on my paper towel so it would release the majority of it. I can't wait to see what you guys do with this. I hope you had some luck in finding some bottle brush trees. Okay, we've got a little window back here. Okay, the tires are going to be painted in with this color as well, but I'm going to quickly dry this so I can get my second coat of red on there. My red is mostly dry already because it wasn't a heavy coat. Something in my paint there. Well, it might be in the undercoat layer, the base coat of the project. Alright, let's do a quick second coat. So I'm going to thin a little bit of my paint with some water. This is a heavy wash of paint, and just quickly put in a second layer here. I'm not worrying too much about my lines because I know I can still see them since I painted everything in individually. As long as I'm not using super heavy paint for my second coat, I'll still retain all of those areas that have to be separate, you know, so that we can shade on them and stuff. And I do try to wipe some of my paint out of my brush in like an area away from where I'm painting so that I don't have a lot of thick buildup in paint. I'll reshape that headlight there. It's a little bit too much paint in my brush to go around that little section there. Alright, fast layers. I am a fast painter though, so don't feel like you have to paint as fast as me. I've always been a fast painter, so. Okay, there's a quick second coat. I'm going to put a quick second coat on my, get that off of there. This is a tri-eraser. I do sell these on my website. I do have a video, I believe, on how to use this, but you can remove like a little bit of paint. I've actually removed big layers of paint, but it has to be fresh paint, and you have to do it very, very lightly, and it needs to be, I usually dip this in clean water and then erase it. But you have to do it very, very gently, very lightly, or you're going to go through all of your layers of paint, clear down to whatever your base surface is. So this is a little eraser for your paint, and I use it. I like to say I rarely use it, but I do use it a lot. All right, let's get our windows painted in with their second coat. Need a little bit more moisture in this paint. The surface that I am currently painting on is just an 8x10 wood panel. My original one is on an 8x10 canvas panel, but you can certainly put this on any surface that you want. Now, I do recommend, if you're putting it on a wood surface, that you prep your surface with multi-surface sealer. That is going to prepare the wood and make the paint stick to it, and it won't soak down into it. Just gives you a much better finish. All right, let me dry this real quick and then we're gonna do our tires. Now I can still see all of my graphite lines that I put on there. They were a little bit darker than I like to use underneath red. I left them so that it would be easier for you to kind of see where I'm going. But if I couldn't see them, they're very easy to put back in. And, you know, with your graphite, white graphite, or just with a chalk pencil. Okay. So I'm going to stencil my tires in. Now you can just paint them by hand, like I said, on my original one. I just painted them in by hand. I didn't have a stencil for it. You can see this one is not quite shaped right, but don't feel like you have to have a stencil for it. But I just feel like this will make it go a little bit faster. So I use this size, which is 1 3/4 inches here. And I'm just going to use a makeup sponge and paint this in real quick. Not worried about that center circle at all. Hopefully I'll get that up to the lines. And makeup sponges are not absorbent, so don't overload it or you'll get paint underneath your stencil. Okay, that one went in pretty nicely. So I'm going to go over here and do this one. Try and line it up. Let's see, I got a little bit of paint over on my hubcap there. I can put a little more paint out. It's probably a good idea if you tape your stencil down instead of trying to hold it like me. And be sure you don't go over into one of your other circles. Always be aware of where your sponge is and how it's loaded so you don't accidentally go into, see, like I almost went over right there. I keep my makeup sponges till there's nothing left of them, and I just keep cutting off the end where the paint is, and I use the end of it. I don't use the big flat side of it. Okay, so those went on very nicely. Let's get them dry and we'll put our hubcaps in. So, if you have any questions, let me know. This really is such a fast, easy project, you guys. Super fun one. I'm going to touch up a couple places with my red around this one. Right here. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Okay, let's get ready to add our hubcaps in and our bumpers. I want to make sure that red I just put on is dry. I think I might need to put a wash of soft black on those. Not sure my, I'm not so worried about the centers, but the outer edges, I do want them to be dark. So I would lift your stencil up and dry it real quick, and then lay it back down and put a second layer on. I didn't do that. I thought it would be dark enough, but it really, whoa, okay. I'm not sure what's going on with my dryer. I'm getting a weird noise. Okay. Now, make sure it's cool before you apply more paint, because if you don't, it's just going to heat set it immediately. Let's see, I believe I used a 1 inch here from a hubcap. I might tape this a little bit. Just a little piece to hold it. And my hubcap is a mix of our green that we used in the background and some white. And it's also going to be the color of the bumpers and the headlight. So it'll be a 3-to-1 mix here. This is very kind of subtly green color. Again, you can stencil this on or you can paint it on by hand. I don't know how time getting the paint out of my brush there. So I'm going to actually see if I have a smaller. You could also use a fingertip dauber to do these. That one's not damp, so it needs to be damp just like you would any other sponge. That way the paint will release out of it and it will clean up easier. Okay, so because I'm worried that this is such a large piece of sponge, I'm going to pinch it together and then tap it in here. Just tap it on. I'm going to lift that and dry it so I can put a second layer on it. Make sure your first layer is dry, because if it's not dry, you're going to lift it. I mean, it's going to immediately lift. Okay, not quite centered, but I'm happy with it. I'll just do it this way. I'll get to the other one. That looks pretty centered, I hope. Quick layer. Make sure it wasn't hot still. Alright. So there's the hubcaps. Super easy. Super quick. And let's paint in our tires, or our bumpers. Our bumpers are going to be this color mix as well. I've got too much paint or water in my brush there. Front bumper. Such a playful one for, I think, for the red truck. All right, my headlight here. Make it just a touch bigger. There we go. Bit more white so I can mix a little bit more. If you have any questions, let me know. There's not a lot of colors on this project. And then one more coat here. Alright, so we got all of our base coating done. Nice. We're ready to start doing some shading on this baby. Okay, put out some soft black, a little bit more here. Our shading mix, let me pull up my instructions because I'm not sure what the ratio is here. Okay, it's a 2-to-1 of our red 1, I just dipped the corner in, 2 and 1. That wasn't quite 1, so I'll get that. This is just going to give us a darker red here. Okay, now you can shade with an angle brush or whatever kind of brush you want to do. I'm just going to continue with this brush so I don't have to get extra brushes out. I'm going to go around this fender here. Oh, went over my light, so I'll have to touch that up. Probably should have started at the back of the car. Would have been a wise decision. Around this one. I have to spritz my palette with some water here. So I can have some moisture in my brush. Mix a little bit more paint here. It's over too far on my brush. Way, way too far. Just creating a dark red. So you're just going to go around everything. Wherever you have a line, that's where you're going to put some of this dark color. I've got a line coming down here. I will do it on both sides of that and on both sides of this one. Light. Down here, I will also do it on both edges of this line down here at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and go up this side because that should be dry. Moisture in my brush there. It's a little dry. You can go down to a smaller brush. Don't feel like you have to use the same size of brush I'm using. I'm going to go around the fender next to the tire. And definitely need more paint. Let me get some moisture so that paint will move. Okay, I can't really see that float very well, so I'm going to darken it up a little bit. That's better. Okay. Let me look at my original here. I did go around my windows, so let me go around them. When you're going in tight areas, lift your brush up. So just that very corner of that brush is going into the area, so you're not spreading your float out wider than you want it to be. Go around this window. this edge down here. Oh, it's coming together so nicely. All right, I haven't gone around this a little bit more of that darker color. This wheel, fender. A little bit more darker color in there because that's not showing up for you guys, I don't feel like. And we do have to come in and darken some of these areas. Okay, I did darken a little bit down here on the hood. And then let's go around the handle here. I want this to get real wide here, so I'm taking the water edge of my brush and kind of thinning that out so it's not a great big area. You know, it doesn't make the handle look like it's ginormous. Oh, you're going to try this tomorrow, Kristen. That's awesome. I hope so. I hope so. You know, tag me on Facebook or someplace. Okay. I think I'm going to take a moment and put in the lug nuts on our hubcaps. So all I did was I put one in the middle, a circle in the middle, and these do not have to be perfect circles, so don't stress out about them. Just we're just going to create 5 circles out away from that one. Super easy. One in the middle here. I'm not even concerned about their size or their shape. Okay, looking good. All right, I'm gonna go, I think I'll go ahead and shade on the bumpers while everything else is getting dry here. That's just with our dark color. And we're just gonna shade next to the, it's a little dark. Next to the car. Come along the bottom here. We'll definitely have to repeat all of these things that we're doing. Along the bottom and next to the car. When I feel like I've got too much paint, I like to touch it with my finger and just remove a little bit of it. Okay, so on the shading on the car, oh wait, let me go around the headlight here. I need to kind of define that a little bit. It's a weird shaped one, but super cute on the car. Okay, we're gonna create some darker areas on the car. I didn't go along here. I'm seeing all the places I missed. So I needed to go along. This line needed below it and above it, and I didn't do above it. So let me get that above it real quick. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to create my darkest areas now. And those darker areas I like to do in just like the V places. So the second shading should not take very long, because we're just going to put it in places where it forms a V or it forms a triangle. Some places where you just feel like that could be darker. So right here is a triangle, so we'll put some in there. These are triangles here. A little bit of a triangle there. Over here, and this is still that red mix, only less red, more of the dark color. This is a little triangle here, so we'll create that shadow. And then on the doors, you've got a little triangle down here, and down here. And we can do a little bit up here. So these are just key places where you want a darker shadow area. And generally they're either shaped like a triangle or a diamond or something like that, where it's got that sharp kind of edge. Okay. All right, my hubcaps should be dry. I think I might actually go to a smaller brush for the hubcaps here. Still going to stay with that darker color. Now I've moved down to a 6 chisel brush because I want to add a shadow around my bolt things that I kind of painted on here. So I'm going to keep this on the right side. Take that water edge and clean it up if it gets out really, really far, because that can happen using a smaller brush. We just want a little bit of shadow on there around those. Okay. Sorry, I've been having trouble with one of my lights here. Doesn't want to stay on. So I just saw that it went out. I think I'm going to have to replace it. Can't tell which side the paint is on my brush when you're using such a small brush and a small amount of paint. Okay, see how it's creating a little bit of a shadow there? While I have this brush, I'm going to put the second shading on the bumpers. Some water. Okay, so now we're going to shade on the hubcaps themselves. And we're going to shade on this side, just the right side of the hubcap, but I've turned it upside down so it looks like the left side to you. Side. Need more paint, more moisture. Not have enough of either. Don't worry about getting into your wheel or your tire, because it's the exact same color that's on your tire there. Okay, I'm going to touch up that headlight because I got red paint on it. All right. When shading, do you all the way to the edge? I'm not sure what that, Donna, can you word that a little bit different? I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. So maybe, are you asking about the brush or when I paint something? do you go? Oh, wait, there's a there's a word missing. It's behind a symbol there. Do you go all the way to the edge? When shading, do you go all the way to the edge? Do you mean on my brush or on the project? On my brush, I'm only corner loading a little bit of paint on the very corner here, what they call the toe of the brush, right on this corner, and I don't ever let mine go more than a third of the way across the brush, and then the rest of the brush has water in it. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, so if I'm not, maybe ask it a different way so I could understand it, because I'm not understanding, and I apologize for that. Okay, let me shade on my headlight because I haven't shaded on it yet. Okay, we're going to start getting ready for some highlights. Fun stuff. No, on the project, do I go all the way to the edge? It depends on the area, I guess. Because I'm all the way on the edge down here. I'm still not really sure what you're asking. This is all on the edge here. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time figuring out what you're trying to ask me. I feel so bad about that. Okay, so let's start highlighting. This is our Neon's Fiery Red, you guys. Love this paint. If you have Sizzling Pink, it will work as well. But I highly recommend getting this for red because I think this is really what made this car just pop. So we're going to put this in everywhere. I'm going to put it on the edges that I definitely want to highlight. And this is going to make that red truly pop. On the doors, I'm just going to apply it on the doors, in the middle of the doors. Just very loosely paint it in there. Well, I guess there's no door back here, so it's basically the back seat of the car. Alright, go over the fenders. Ooh. Clean my brush a little bit because I got my paint over a little far on there. Okay, so right in here we're going to put some. And so I completed the top of the car because I'm, gluing a tree on here. But, if you're going to paint a tree on here, you don't necessarily have to complete the top of the car because you're going to be covering that up with a tree. So you don't have to do that on the top. Don't forget your handle. Ooh, look at that. Look how that's just a pop, pop, pop in there. Come down beside our windows here. And then above them, which I am very up on the chisel edge of my brush there. So all the places that we're going to be putting a brighter highlight you want to put on that car. Now look how that just makes that car pop on there. That paint just makes that car pop. I'm telling you, it is the absolute best paint. Now that I have put that on there, I can see a couple places that I need to definitely darken my shading on. So down here could be a little bit darker. And maybe along this bottom edge on this one. And down here and down here. Those areas definitely needed to be a little bit darker. So once you've got that neon's on there, you can immediately see, okay, I can see where I need to put a little bit of darker color on there and make that pop a little bit more. Okay, so that was our first highlight. We're going to do a second one, and we're going to mix the neons and the red, and the white. It's going to make a kind of bright pink, so we'll definitely limit where this goes. And I just used an equal mix here. Put some on the top. You know, if you're going to see the top of your car. I'm just using my finger and kind of smoothing it out. It's almost like a dry brushy kind of effect on here. And I'm going to put a little bit on the doors here. I'm going to come back with just white through here. We'll put a little bit of that pink on there. Just a little bit of this second highlight. And we'll put a little bit of it down here. It's coming to life. It's coming to life. So I'm not adding extra moisture to my brush for a couple of reasons. One, because I want this to be more dry brushy as I am putting this highlight in this. This is not my brightest highlight. And the neons tends to be a thinner paint, so I really don't want to add water to my brush and make that paint be any thinner than it already is. Okay. A little bit more back here. Because I'm dry brushing, I'm not using a whole lot of paint. So it's definitely going to stand on top more. Okay, that's looking not too bad. Let me mix up just a little bit more. I feel like this fender here needs a little kick of this before we come back and add our bright white on here. Now you can put that neon by itself on here a couple of times. Don't feel like you have to just do it once. I mean, if you want your red to be even brighter, then definitely put that on there a couple times. Okay, I think that's pretty good for our mix of neons and okay, that was a lot. Neons and white right there. Okay, so our brightest highlight is going to be white. So we're going to take just white on our brush here. Corner load it. I'm going to go down here on my hubcaps and put a quick highlight on it. Try not to let it get too wide. I do have to go around each of those nut things that I put on there, so I will come back and do those with the smaller brush. And brighten those. So do the fenders. Do my light. And then go everywhere else on the car that we just put that brighter pink on there. We're just dry brushing this white and creating a little bit brighter on top of that highlight that we just put on. Just using the corner of my brush, just letting it skim across. This is just white. We have to highlight on our windows and our tires as well. So on our windows, again, I'm just dry brushing, and I just go down this edge. And then I take a little bit across the window like that, give it a little reflection there. Let's do the tires. This is still just a dry brush. I am not adding moisture to my brush. I have very little paint in my brush, and I'm just letting it skim across the surface. I think using a little bit bigger brush helps with this dry brushing part because it lets you load a little bit more on the corners. Okay, I'm just going back over and seeing where I might need to add a little bit more highlight. So cute. I still have to do the lug nuts here. And that's looking pretty good. A little bit brighter up here, I think. Okay. Super cute. Let me highlight on those lug nuts. And I'm going back to my smaller brush with just white. Try not to have a lot of moisture in your brush when you're using this small one. And I'm going to go on the opposite side that I put that shadow and put a little bit of white. Give these a little bit of a raised look. Small brush here, small chisel. This is a 6. You could obviously go down to a 4. I like the shorter bristles on the chisel blenders. You could do a 1/4 inch angle brush as well doing this. But try not to have a lot of moisture in your brush. Just the paint, just straight paint. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's shade underneath our car. Just with our dark color here. And I'm just going to create a shadow underneath here. And we're going to bring it across like this. We're going to darken this and make it a little bit bigger, but we're just establishing where it's going to go right now. So I just start out with a thin float to begin. Establishing my shadow. I like my shadows to be choppy. I don't like them to be all smoothed out and everything. So on this one here, I do want it to be a little bit smoother under here, so I'm going to go on the opposite side of it and smooth that out. Okay, maybe just a tiny bit darker underneath this front tire. My paint's still wet here, so I have to be very careful I don't lift. Okay, that looks pretty good for a shadow, I think. Now we do want to have that a little bit lighter underneath our car right here, so it looks like there's light coming underneath the car. So if you don't have that on there, you can take a little bit of your green and your white and mix it and very lightly float and create that little light coming underneath the car there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my stenciling on before we put the tree, because I'm actually going to varnish this before I glue my tree on, so then it will be ready to give as a gift. So my stenciling, I did deck the halls. So I'm going to do that again, deck the halls, and make sure I get it straight up here, kind of centered. I'm just going to put this stencil even with my edge of my board and kind of center it. Okay, so I'm going to use my dark color for my stencils. All the details give it such dimension. Absolutely, that's the one thing about decorative painting, is you take something that is flat, painted flat, and start adding different values of color, and it just brings it to life. It seriously just brings it to life. I love that about it. Okay, I think this is a dry brush. So I'm just going to use my dark color here. Grab a dry paper towel. Tap some of this off, and I'm just going to tap these letters in the first layer, because I never know how much paint is in my brush, and I don't want to have bleed under. And some of these letters are kind of small. They have details that I don't want to lose. And this is my, I believe this is called my Christmas Sentiments stencil. But you can certainly use any stencil that you have. If you have, you know, any kind of Christmas word stencil, it will work just fine. Or you can leave the words off altogether. This one says, deck the halls, joy to the world, and oh holy night. Which we used the oh holy night on a project not that long ago. Oh, I used it for a group on Facebook. Okay, I want to get one more layer of paint on there, and then I'm going to show you, I'm going to dry it and show you how I do my varnishing. It's a way that I've done it for years. I do not ever use a paintbrush to varnish my projects, ever. Hopefully I didn't get this overloaded and have paint underneath. That looks pretty good. Okay, let me close up my bridges here. I will be putting some glitter paint on these letters when I get done. Too much moisture in my brush. I do like to close my bridges. Now the A can be closed or not closed, because it won't matter too much for it, but I think it was actually a letter that was created with an open at the top. Let me just make sure those have a good layer of paint. You can use a detail liner to do these. You don't have to use I'm using a 2 round. You don't have to use a brush this big. Okay, let me give it a quick dry. We have to splatter it with some white paint before we varnish it, so I'm going to lay this down on my table here so I can put some snow effect on it. This is an option, you know, if you don't like to do this particular thing, then you can leave this off. You don't have to splatter it with white if you don't want to have any snow effect on yours. Let's see if I got my paint thin enough. Nope. Make sure you're adding clean water to your white paint so that it, okay, that's way too much water now. So it stays white, it doesn't, a little bit, okay, that's got a lot of paint in my brush here. There we go, that's better. This might take a minute to paint, to dry. Okay, so we've got some splatters on there. Again, that is totally optional. I mean, some people like to do it, some people don't. I'm not a huge fan, but I think it's very effective in some paintings. So let me get this dry real quick and then we will varnish it. So if you have any questions, actually, I see a couple that, oh, about missed my chair. I see a couple that are a little bit thick. So I'm going to take my baby wipe and remove some of the paint. You can do this with a paper towel as well. I just don't want to remove all of the paint. I just want to take a little bit of it off. Alright, let's get this dry. It shouldn't take very long. That was mostly water. A little bit of white paint in it. So how many of you varnish with a brush? I don't use a brush, ever. I always use a sponge. I want to make sure these are dry because when I take my sponge across it, if it's not dry, it's going to smear it. I had my paint a little bit thicker than what I wanted. So ideally, you would want to let your painting dry. I like to let mine dry at least 24 hours, if not longer, before I varnish it. Okay, I think they're all dry. Dry enough. Okay, so I've had my sponge setting in water here. So again, we want it damp. So the product releases out of the sponge. Doesn't hold on to it. Keep it for itself and say, it's all mine, it's all mine. I'm going to be using the Media Line Ultra Matte Varnish. I prefer a flat or a matte varnish on my surfaces, but you use whatever varnish you want. If you want to really shine this up, then go for whatever varnish you want. And I'm just going to dip my sponge in there. Normally I would, if it's in a bottle like this, I would just squirt it out on a palette or plate. So I'm just going to apply it on here. Get it all over the surface and then come back and smooth it out. And I usually do 2 coats. I go down with the first coat and then across with the second coat. And I like a matte or a flat varnish because I like for my painting to look like I just finished painting it. I don't want to give it that glossy look, mostly because if I'm taking photos of it, I need it to be like no shine to it. So I'm going to dry this real quick because I'm only going to put 1 layer on it so we can finish this project. And then we're going to grab our tree. Actually, I think I'll bling up the letters first. a very thin coat of varnish, very thin. So it didn't take hardly any time to dry. All right, so for my blinging it up part, I am going to use some Glamour Dust Ice Crystal, my very, very, very favorite product. Put some out. Now, you can make your own Glamour Dust by using some gloss or high gloss varnish and mixing the Glamour Dust just fine glitter into it. I'm actually going to put some extra in here and make it extra blingy. Mix it up a little bit. I love my bling at Christmas. I rarely do a project that doesn't have some kind of bling on it. Although the Santa one, the Santa hat that I did just recently, I did not put any bling on that at all. A sponge brush. It can work if you load enough of the varnish into the brush and move quickly and make sure it's damp. I've never had the best of luck with a sponge brush, so if you have something that you can practice on first with that, I would recommend doing that. But it should work in theory. But I've never had the best of luck with a sponge brush. So I'm just going to go in here and paint my letters with a coat of this. Now you can put your stencil back on and stencil, but I have found that if I do that, all the glittery stuff wants to stick to the stencil and not so much to my paint. I mean, it does work. I have used it, but I feel like I have to give it 2 or 3 layers. I do prefer 2 layers when I'm putting glitter on. And I always add my glitter after I have varnished. It's got a sealer in it, so we don't have to varnish over it. And if you like big chunky glitter, DecoArt has Galaxy glitter. It's got big chunks of glitter in it. I like this more fine glitter. And the ice crystal, the Glamour Dust comes in many, many colors, but my favorite is the ice crystal. So I'm just going to take my time, and probably a detail liner here on these smaller letters would be better. I'm going to try and stay up on the very tip of this brush as best I can. I don't want to go way out past my letters here. I want to stay within the letters but fill the entire letter. So you can give the brush more pressure in the fatter areas and stay up on the tip in the more narrow areas. It really just takes practice. Hand lettering really just takes practice because it is really just about brush control and pressure and release the pressure. Flat brush, tip of the brush. I got a lot of paint, so I'm going to go over here to this letter and do it and then come back and finish this one. Love me some bling. So fun. I think hand lettering is so relaxing, so I love it. Okay, so I got a coat of that on there. I might come back and put a second coat on a little bit later, but I want to get to the tree, so let me quickly dry this. Or mostly dry it. And if you like doing fabric paint, that bag that I just did last week, I think it was, had the fabric glitter in it. Oh, gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. Okay, So our tree here, I'm just going to remove the base off it. It's just hot glued on, but they rarely stick very well. So I'm going to turn my palette cam off so we can have a see the entire, as I find it. See a little bit better everything that's going on. Okay, so this is the tree that I use. Like I said earlier, I got mine at the dollar store, but you can get it at Walmart. They had the exact same trees at Walmart. I was shocked this morning when I looked there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, same tree, same price. Okay, so I want my tree to be bent because this is a bottle brush tree. It will bend very easily, but this tree is pretty bulky on each side, and I want it to have a little flatter edge to stick to. So I'm going to trim this edge of the tree, the side that I'm going to glue down. I'm going to trim the bristles to make it more the same height all the way up. So I just trimmed it so it's more flat there. Easy peasy. So now we can have it a little more flat on our project here. Okay, so if you're going to be giving it for a gift, I recommend that you use both E6000 and a hot glue gun. Okay, so you can put the E6000 on and then put the hot glue on. I'll go ahead and do both. On my other one, I just did the hot glue. I'll see if my E6000 will even come out. Who knows how old this tube is. So I'm just going to put some E6000 in a few places so that it will hold it where it needs to. And then I'm going to put some hot glue. I'm trying not to put it over my E6000, but I think I just did right there. This glue gun's been plugged in for like an hour and a half. So I'm just going to put some on here, and then I'm going to stick it right here. Let that glue set a minute. The hot glue, the E6000, will take a minute. Get my stringers off of there, maybe. Okay. So there we have it. Now, if you get your tree up a little high to where you can see above the car, let me pull my original one out here. I got mine a little high and I could see the lighter green up there. So if that happens, okay, just take a little bit of this dark shading color that we used, a little wash of it, and go up underneath here and put some of that on there. Even if you get it on the car, that's fine, because it can be like a shadow on the car. But we don't want to see light coming underneath our tree, separating it from the car. We want everything to look like it's connected right there. So a little bit of soft black will take care of that. And I know we're painting over varnish, but that won't matter because the tree is hiding all that, so you won't see that. Of course, I use flat varnish anyway. So there we have it. I'll probably go back with another layer of glamour dust on my letters. But look at that, you guys. Let me pull in my original one because I always like to compare them for you. Make sure we got close to looking the same. Oh, I better cover up my glue before it oozes out everywhere. Okay. That's the one I painted today. Here's my original. There we go. Pretty. Oh, I forgot one step. Shading around the outside edge. So let me do that real quick. I almost forgot till I laid my original beside mine. Forgot that I had done that. Now this you can use with the, you can do the sponge. But I just did a wash of this dark color that we used all the way around. I like to finish out my projects with by doing whatever dark color I use in the project around the edges. I mean, if it's not something you like to do, then you don't have to do it. But I think it brings it all together. A bigger brush would probably be better here instead of this little bitty one that I'm using. I think that just finishes it out. I just corner loaded a little wash of that color and finished out, which, you know, ideally I should have done before I varnished it, but it's a little late now. Isn't that just the cutest thing ever? It's much better than a red truck, I think. Much better. Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Looks like on my original one I did use a second layer of the Neon's Fiery Red. So, you know, if you feel like you need that second layer of red on there, then go ahead and put that if you want to make your car pop a little bit more. Because mine is not quite as bright. When I painted today, not quite as bright. So I would recommend doing a second layer of the neons before you do the neon and white mix. I probably have that in my instructions, but who knows? Who knows? I did not go back and read my... Yes, I do say let dry and repeat with the Neon's Fiery Red in the instructions. So if I'd read my instructions at all today, I would have realized that. So that is it for this project today, you guys. I hope that you have enjoyed this one. This was truly one of my funnest projects that I have done, and I loved doing it so very much. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed it as well. And I hope you're going to paint you a little red Volkswagen with a tree on top. Again, grab a tree or paint a tree, whatever. Whatever, whatever, whatever. So... let me check through, make sure there's no remaining questions. What colors am I using? They are in the packet, and so if you want to grab a packet, it tells you all the colors that I am using. You can go to lonnalamb.com and grab this packet. It's a PDF download, so it's a great project. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. I hope you guys will tag me on Facebook and or Instagram, whichever, and show me your painted Volkswagens. I can't wait to see them because this was incredibly fun for me. Such a great one to end my lives at the end of the year. This will be my last live until January. So I hope you've enjoyed it, unless something happens and I come up with something spur of the moment and pop in with some kind of crazy idea. So all right, I'm going to make sure one more time, no more questions. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope that you have enjoyed it, and I hope that you have a wonderful, blessed Christmas and a wonderful New Year's, and I will see you in 2024. Thanks so much for supporting me, you guys. Give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this, and please subscribe.